getting ready to seal out some sticks on fresh cuts. And when you're sealing up fresh cuts, just take some paint, any old paint. Doesn't need to be good paint, usually old paint, because hey, it's a good way to use up what's been hanging around a long time. And I'm going to be painting my sticks by color so I know what species, and then I'll also be marking down what month and year I started sealing them. The ones that I'll be sealing today, I actually just cut them this past Sunday, so March 15th, 2026. Let's see if I can get this lit again. Got a good billow going. All right, this is actually Irish Flake from Peterson of Dublin. This is the tobacco I'm smoking today, and it's not bad. It's actually pretty good. It's kind of got an Irish whiskey-ish taste to it, to be honest. You know what? This is actually the time that I need to get my microphone hooked up. I didn't have that hooked up because I'm a silly goose. So let's get this unplugged. I'll be right back. Hang in there with me. All right. Okay, and we're good. All right, so first things first, like I said, just get any old paint. Doesn't matter what kind. And this is going to be for, I think I'm going to paint my service berry wood with this like kind of orangey color. And it's exterior paint for what it's worth. Doesn't really make a difference though. It could even be bad paint where the paint's like done mixing and it won't really mix up anymore. Okay, let's see if I can get this open with my knife. It's great to have a knife that can do many things, and this is the little knife that I'm using. This is an end cut. I make these out of file scraps. It's pretty cool. A lot of fun to make too. They keep you honest, as the saying goes. Keeps your chops up. Okay, let's move this over here. Where's my pipe? Let's get some sticks. First things first, I got this gnarly piece hanging out here. I gotta cut that off. And these are what I use right here. They're Fiskars. I don't know what to say. Oh, Fiskars. And they're like just nipping shears. I've had these forever. That's why they've been through hell and back. And then I'm just gonna nip that off right there. And now, I got this one right here. I'm gonna cut that off too. Yep, that one as well. All right. And for this, I honestly just use these little, I think they call them acid brushes. And I get these from like Harbor Freight, and they're cheap usually. Like $1 a bag, maybe $2 a bag. You know what? They might even be $3 a bag now with inflation. But then I just paint the end, and that is it. And this helps it stop splitting. And also, like I said, this is going to be like color coding for the time frame that I sealed it off, so I can have a better catalog of how long they've been sitting before they dry. And some will say, no matter what, let them sit, minimum 3 years. There's a rough rule of thumb about something about per half inch, a year per half inch or something like that. And I mean, that's fine if you want to go that way, you can. But you don't have to. Don't feel like you have to. It's like I said, that's a rule of thumb. I've had some sticks that have actually seasoned in just a year. And I'm painting the ends right here where I just cut. I don't normally do that. I only do it sometimes. But I've never tried making a stick that's all sealed up before. So I'm going to see if I can get it completely split free. This is the first year I started sealing my sticks, actually. I only recently learned about this to stop the ends from splitting. So it's, why not? What better a year to start than now? What better day than today? And the species that I'm working on right here, this is actually a wood called serviceberry. And serviceberry is incredibly tough, strong. It was such a tough wood that it was actually used in making spokes for wheels back in the old wagon wheel days. And I don't always get all the way around the bark, but when it's got like a little bit of scarring around the bark, that's when I'll add some. And so since this has a bunch of saw marks, as you can see them, those are all like saw marks. I'll actually be painting those too, because this is all going to get cut off, and I'm going to skin the bark off it anyway at the end. So it's not going to hurt anything. But I can say there's a high likelihood if I don't seal those off, they could actually cause splitting. And I don't want them splitting right there. The cool thing about stick making is the seasoning process is all passive. You know, you cut them, you seal them, you put them up wherever you so choose. Some put them in their attic. I actually put them in my shed in a barrel. They were in a loft. I think I'm going to put some back in the loft, but I had a seriously bad outbreak of beetles, and I'm not sure what species. I thought it was ambrosia, but research is sounding like it was longhorn, I think they call them. I don't even know. I'm not an entomologist, but what I can say is that those beetles destroyed about 100 of my sticks that would be made this year. I was really bummed about that, and it went after multiple species, but definitely the mulberry. My mulberries were destroyed. I actually have a stick. Where is that at? That is, I'll show you guys. This one is a stick that was absolutely destroyed by those beetles tunneling under the bark. Isn't that wild, the pathways? To me, it's absolutely incredible. And my girlfriend was actually going at it, cleaning all the sawdust out from the little tunnels, I guess you could call them, little channels. And it was like confetti coming out of there, just all over the place, and very fine. It's like almost like a talcum powder. I gotta get a little bit more in there. Yeah, those little critters were bound and determined to get in there and make their little life out of the underside of the bark and the sapwood. They liked specifically fruit woods, it seemed like. They didn't go after my serviceberry, which is a fruit wood, oddly enough, but it went after my mulberry and crabapple, and I can't remember the other fruit wood. But yep, they went after those and beat the brakes off of them. Okay, I'm just going to start lining them up over there. Let's see. And we're going on to the next stick. Just going to, like the last one, just cut these ends off. And these little suckers like this, these aren't enough for me to keep on. If they were bigger, like thicker like this piece, I'd actually leave them. That can make some pretty cool stick attributes if you leave those heavier pieces on. They almost look like reindeer half the time. It's pretty neat looking. Okay. Like this right here at the bottom. Sometimes if I can get those at the top, I'll actually leave that. But these, I'll just paint these. So actually, I don't really have to paint these. I will for marking's sake, because this is so far down that even if it does split, this is an actual like hiking stick. It won't hurt nothing. It won't get too far up the wood. And this stuff, serviceberry, actually it didn't split that bad, because the ones that I made most recently that were serviceberry, they didn't split. I was surprised. All right. And luckily today, the wood that I'm using, I'm actually doing serviceberry and pear. And serviceberry has like a really pale sapwood, and pear has like a kind of a not orangey, but getting towards orange color, between like a light orange and almost like a peach color. And that'll let me more easily tell what I'm working on in case I forget, because some of these can look very similar and be such different species all the way around. And then I cut these off. It just makes them easier to store, actually. There's no like aesthetic reason or anything for cutting them off. This one I think I might actually lop that off. Do I have my saw? I have a saw, but not the saw I would use. Let me see if I can get around it with this. I might be able to get it with this. The mechanical advantage on these pruning shears are honestly impressive. So if I can get through this with cutting around it little by little, I'm gonna be very impressed. It's not easy, I will say that, and I'm putting a lot of force into these. Yep. Just gotta work around it, squeeze, cut a little further each time. There we go. And that's a great length for a walking stick right here. And when it straightens out, or when it dries out, I should say, I'll be straightening it out, and this will be a beast of a stick for sure. And very strong. Serviceberry is a fantastic wood. It actually is one of the North American species that can rival the blackthorn. And the Irish don't always use blackthorn. It's a common misconception. They use oak, they use ash. Basically, if the wood could dry to be very strong, they would use it. Were there favorites? Sure. But it was not always blackberry. Traditional, I believe actually the origins of Irish sticks was actually oak, if I recall correctly. But hey, ash is used for making baseball bats. If it can be used for a baseball bat and take a 100-mile-an-hour pitch, I'm going to say that's going to make a really nice stick. Oh, hey guys, how's it going? I'm Rachel, and I am sealing up some walking sticks I cut this past Sunday after a really bad windstorm we had. And it took down some really substantially sized trees, so I got out there and did some harvesting on serviceberry and pear. And these are the ones I'll be doing probably for now are going to be serviceberry. And I'm painting them the color I chose because it's old paint. And what better way to use an old paint than as a sealer? It still is a good seal, and this will stop my sticks from wanting to crack in the seasoning drying process. And then it'll also help me catalog what species I have and then what year it is. So I will be noting these as serviceberry 2026. Okay, let's see here. Like this is a real beastly stick right here. This is almost like cosplay big. It's probably, oh God, let's see. I'm 5'3", almost 5'4", and even all bent and stuff. Look how tall that stick is. And if I could get this to straighten out a little bit, it'd be almost as tall as me. It'd probably get up to probably like 5'2". And I just cut off these little ends. And then I'll be sealing it like the one I just did. And this is, like I said, this is serviceberry. Serviceberry is just such a strong wood, very, very tough. It was used, and when we still were using wagons, they were used for spokes on wagon wheels. And that's saying a lot about a species of wood to be able to take that kind of, weight and really just abuse, I guess you could say. Those were our semi trucks. Even before the freight train, those things were hauling some very serious freight. And it was good for turning. Well, you made wagon wheels by turning them. It was one of the more prized woods for it in North America, where I am. And when it dries, it is significantly lighter, but it still retains a fair amount of weight. And it is just I was truly impressed with how tough this wood is. It just feels so strong and sturdy. I have a video, one of my shorts, showing a video where a person was telling me basically my stick was inferior at the size thickness it was, and it was a serviceberry stick. And I was actually putting a lot of weight on it, and I weigh 200, I think I'm 205. I was putting almost all my weight on it, which you're not supposed to do with a walking stick or a hiking stick or even medical sticks. And all I can say is it was holding me up just fine. I was actually impressed myself at how strong it was. Like I knew it was strong, but that was like really strong. I think I posted that short within the past month, roundabouts. And I'm painting the side where it tore out a little bit because I have had the stick split right there because when there's no bark, it allows for much more rapid evaporation of moisture, and that can cause a pretty good sized check. Okay, moving right along. Let me see if I can find. And this is a big piece of serviceberry, and I call these just like thumpers. And my thoughts on this is let this thoroughly season, and once it's seasoned, I'll be like carving out a handle right here, and then doing a little bit of I don't know, probably just cleaning it up top, and this will be just a big thumper for someone like I don't know, like one of my cousins. I got some tree trunk cousins, big guys. They'd get a kick out of it. Oh no, don't do that. Okay. I gotta go try and go live on TikTok. That's what I do normally. I do a mix throughout the social media platforms. But while that's loading, let's get this painted up. And a stick this size, I actually expect this to take close to 3 years to season. And painting these ends will slow down that curing process, seasoning process immensely. Like if I left this untouched, it'd probably get there in about a year and a half. I don't know. We'll see this year though, because it's supposed to be a very hot, dry summer, and that can usually speed up the seasoning process. So we'll actually see, because I'll be putting these out in the sun when we have those hot, dry days to get them all seasoned up faster. Let's see here. And it'll also be easy to keep track of the sticks by species, by painting the same species, the same color. So when I'm done with this, these will be going down as, March 2026. And then I'll have that in my data logs, and I'll be able to be like, okay, this was seasoned March 2026. And this is a species of serviceberry. But yeah, that's a mighty beast of a stick right there, to say the very least. Like, that's a beast. I'd say right now this probably weighs, I don't know, maybe 7 pounds, 5 to 7 pounds. And when it dries, it'll probably go down to like 3 to 4 pounds. And it'll still be, like I said, I'll be taking some meat out of the handle area, and then I'll clean up the top. And this will be like one cool like truck thumping stick for people that are into like cosplay for goblins and all that stuff. Or if you just want a ridiculously huge stick in your truck. That's also fun. I like that idea better. Okay, there is another stick. Yeah. These little Fiskars pruning shears, they have a lot of mechanical advantage. Like I say it all the time, but it honestly, it impresses me how tough these things are. Oh, let me see. Sealing fresh cuts. And I just seal the ends. It's not rocket science. Some will say that they get really too deep into it, in my opinion, and it does not make a better stick by any means. But people will buy into it that it does. It does not. But it's a funny myth. And there's some that will say, no, sticks are supposed to be made this way and put up a chimney and slathered in butter or whatever crazy ideas they say their family would do back in Ireland. Or there was another one that actually, I guess, has some truth to it, where they would put them in a manure pile. I don't know how often that was done, but some did do it, but it was not a, we'll say, common practice. And they said that's how their sticks got the black, or by putting it up the chimney in the soot. But like I said, I don't know what's true or what's not. There's some wild stories out there on places like Reddit, and Reddit is take that place with a grain of salt. That is the armpit of the internet. But here is this is gonna be a serviceberry walking stick. It's pretty cool. Okay. Interesting. This is when I cut directly off the fallen branch, or I shouldn't say branch. It was basically the trunk of the tree, and the tree was like, let's see how far back I can get. I mean, like, if my arm's this wide, it was probably about off. Actually, it was a branch, so a branch about that wide. The actual trunk of the tree, I couldn't get my arms around. It's a really big one. And I'm just going to paint this so it doesn't get too crazy and cracking. Slow down the seasoning a bit. When really it doesn't matter how fast it gets there. Seasoned is seasoned. There's, like I said, Reddit has all sorts of crazy claims. The internet has a bunch of crazy claims. But is it true? Leave that up to you to decide. It's not that scientific. Most things aren't. And this is just some old paint I had laying around. Like it's not like any kind of like special wood sealer. No, paint works fine. And it doesn't have to be new paint. Old paint has enough in there to just seal it just fine. Some will say, no, you got to use wood sealer. No, you don't. Some will also say you got to quench a knife pointing north. You don't have to do that either. I also make knives, so throw out knife stuff out there every now and again. But there we go. That's a sealed stick. That's it. You don't really throw a whole lot into like making a stick. I mean, you do at the finishing end, but the starting end, the sealing end, no, you just paint the ends and put it up to dry. That is it. This is another thumping stick right here. This one, I'll show you. It's a pretty good size. And I'm just going to be painting the ends and letting it sit and seal. And the white end of it tells me that this is serviceberry. I mean, it doesn't look a lot like pear, but it looks close enough in some aspects on the bark. And when you're in the, swing of things, you get moving, you might forget what species you're working on. And I only got a few pear sticks. I think I only got probably a half a dozen. So it's not like I'm going to be running into many of them. Actually, I just seasoned a bunch of peach here recently. I painted those black, the ends on them. And this, I might get a glob of paint in there because it's been broken off a long time. So I'm going to do this to stop any further potential it has for cracking. And like I said, coats of paint, different colors of paint, helps you catalog what species and when you started seasoning it, if you write that down or if you save that information. I'm a data collector. One of them things I just like to do. Yep, this is another serviceberry stick right here. Where is that stick I had? Like I said, I made a video of showing how strong serviceberry really is, and it is incredible what certain species are compared to others. And like, in my opinion, the rule of thumb for me is just make sure that it's a deciduous wood, so it's a hardwood. Some have said they've made really good ones out of carniferous, like pines and stuff like that, but I've never put it to the test. And part of my gripe with it is sap. That stuff will get all over the place, and I've had sap start coming out of the wood again, like long after. So I just avoid conifers because of that. Actually, I'm not gonna. I think I'm gonna cut the end right here above this, and then use these. These are actually great. These are Fiskars pruning shears, and they're actually really quite strong. They have a lot of mechanical advantage. And no, I can't just cut through it in one cut, but I can get it through it with a few cuts, working my way around. And hopefully this don't go flying into the paint can. That would be unfortunate, and it would probably stay in there. I would never retrieve it because this is old paint, and I doubt I'll ever use this paint again on anything but this. My saws are in my truck because I'm a nerd and I didn't plan well. Okay, let's try it. There we go. Got it. And as you can see, this is already, that's about 5 feet tall right now. I'm 5'3", almost 5'4". So that's about where this is. And by the way, happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. I got my green hat on. You just can't tell. It's pretty cold in my workspace. It dropped down to like 16 degrees last night, I think it was. And we had some howling winds, let me tell you. Actually, I slept with earplugs and it was howling so much. Let's get those pieces cut off. Now this is one awesome stick right here. And this, I will leave these bigger pieces on. But when it comes down to it, I'll still probably leave these on. And then I'll make the ball end, knob end out of this by cutting most of this off and most of it off down here. But this is already pretty straight too. This is going to be a nice stick. I might even paint this one black. And I paint the ends where it's all split and rough because I have had it split actually up the side of it. Caused some pretty impressive cracks, to put it lightly. Hey. And even if I get to just grinding off those pieces, which I usually do, like this one right here, I'll just actually rasp that off, take it right off with a rasp. But I still paint it because that can still lead to one heck of a nasty crack. And the same thing down here, just paint them. And get the little area that was roughed up a little bit. This actually already has a bit of a split, so I gotta go heavy on the paint on this one. I think I'll be making a video today about sealing a stick and the importance of it. If you want to make a good solid stick that will not only last generations, but it'll look nice too. Because I mean, you know, there's sticks around that can last hundreds and hundreds of years. They're still being bought and sold actually for a premium because they're considered, you know, classical pieces of old Irish heritage. To me, that's quite cool to know that something you make with your hands can withstand the test of time, at least for centuries, generations. How long have I been live? 30 minutes? Huh. All right. Well, that means I'm going to cut the live and get back to sealing up my sticks. And then I hope you guys have a good rest of your Tuesday. And I will be back probably tomorrow at noon. So I will see you guys. Have a good one. Cheers. Rachel from Forge Le Femme. Adios.